All right, today we are going to go over some coordinate graphing, and more specifically graphing in the other three quadrants of the coordinate plane. Typically we have graphed in coordinate 1 or quadrant 1, which is this area right here where x and y coordinates are both positive numbers. So there's a positive x and a positive y to our coordinates. So there's a positive x, this would be the x-axis right here, and this would be our y-axis right here, and it runs the whole length all the way down, and those lines go on forever in both directions, and the horizontal axis running left to right is our x-axis, and it goes left to right forever in both directions, and they intersect right here at 0, 0, and we call 0, 0 the origin. 0, 0 is called the origin, okay, because everything originates from there. So this is called the origin in coordinate plane geometry. Okay, now technically we're not doing geometry, we're just graphing, but that's a good little background information. So up until now, everything we've done has been here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to use the other three quadrants. So if above the line going up, think about a thermometer. If we go above the line here, if this is 0, anything positive temperatures are above 0. Anything below 0 would be a negative temperature. If we took that thermometer and thought of it like a number line and we lay the number line on its side, this is 0. Anything to the right of 0 is positive numbers. Anything to the left of 0 would be negative numbers. So over here in quadrant 2, we have a negative x and a positive y. And how I know this is because I'm still above 0 for my y value, but I'm to the left of 0 on my x-axis. So this is a negative x over here. These are negative x values, but positive y values. Okay. Now, quadrant 3 are both negative values because I'm to the left of 0, so I have a negative x, and so I have a negative x, and I have a negative y, because now for quadrant 3, I've dropped below 0 on my y-axis. So now I have negative y values as well. So both numbers will be negative. Essentially, it's just basically how we can separate our map into 4 different areas to help us figure out locations on a piece of paper, really, is all this is. All right, and then for quadrant 4, we're going back to the positive side of x to the right of 0. Okay, so we're going to have a positive x over here. And because we're still below the 0 or underneath 0 or below 0, if you think of a thermometer, we're going to be in the negative y values again. So positive x, negative y. All right, so if you want to write down a couple of little rules here, in quadrant 1, x is always positive and y is always positive. In quadrant 2, x is always negative and y is always positive. In quadrant 3, both x and y are always negative, and in quadrant 4, x is positive and y is always negative. All right, so that being said, let's take a look at a few points on a graph here. And I'm going to have to extend my page a little bit. All right, so real quickly, we're going to label the quadrants. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this at home, but probably not. This is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. Okay, now, typically we want to look for patterns. And right now, looking at this, do we see any patterns? Well, we can see that there are 2 points that have an x value of 0, 0, 0, and 0, 2, and there's some others that are kind of haphazardly thrown, but there's no definite pattern to how these dots are here. So there's probably not a linear graph that's going to be formed from any of these dots being connected, or at least not a table that we can associate definitively with any of these. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look to see how we can go from one coordinate to the other. All right, so how I want to go here is we're going to start at 0, 0, and we are going to start at our origin, and we are going to travel to our very first point of 0, 2. So I want to go from 0, 0, so from the origin, to 0, 2. Okay, and I'm logically, how are we going to go from 0, 0 to 0, 2? Well, I don't have a change in x. I'm not moving right or left. Changes in x are either to the right or to the left. So I'm not moving right or left. I'm moving up. So I simply have to say that we move up how many spaces? Well, 1, 2. I'm moving up 2 units. So 1, 2. Okay, so I move up 2 units, or 2 spaces, 2 units, it doesn't matter, 2 units on the y-axis, Okay, now, if we wanted to figure out how we go from 0, 0 to 0, whoops, I already did 0, 0. From 0, 0 to, let's say, 6, 2, and I'll keep them both in the positive. Let's change that. Let's go from 0, 0 down to -4, -2. -4, -2. Okay, so this would be from the origin over here to this point over here in the third quadrant. That one, we are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to the left and 1, 2 spaces down. So we are going to move 4 units left and move 2 units down. All right, so that's how we find distance based on the position of the points. All right, if you have any questions, make sure you email me. See you in the morning.